This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That would be me. Thank you for joining me today, listening in all of the many different ways that you could be. If you're listening on YouTube, you search Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for that. If you searched us in the TuneIn Radio app, in the Apple Store, and the Google Play Store, we appreciate you. And of course, as always, you can find us on hotnewstalkradio.com. So just thank you for all of the different avenues and supporting us in all of the different ways that you do. In the news, okay, we got a whole lot of Missouri all of a sudden. A whole lot of Missouri. Missouri just showed up out of nowhere, and I couldn't avoid it, navigate around it. Missouri tends to do that. I don't know where to start. I could start with the game against Kentucky that they had last night. Kentucky just destroyed them 88-54. That one got out of hand in a jiffy. Could start with I guess former quarterback now, Matty Mock was let go by the team. He was let go for not living up to expectations. And of course, there was a video out this week that came out of him doing a line of cocaine. Basically, it's just straight up, that's him in the video. But his teammates were saying that video is 2 years old, that he's beaten it. He hasn't done drugs since. You know, I tend to believe him, but either way, he's off the team. He's out of a job as quarterback, and he's the kind of guy I don't know what to do with Matty Mock, because even his performance on the field is up and down. It leaves a lot to be desired. He's got great games. He's got incredibly high highs. He's got incredibly low lows, and he doesn't have a whole lot in between. And that team, you know, rises and falls with him. And Gary Pinkel, being the head coach, just was able to use that and was able to win some games for them in ways that I would not have imagined possible. The back-to-back years of Missouri winning the SEC East, it was kind of weirdly unbelievable. Just kind of odd. So, you know, they're an up and down kind of team, and he's an up and down kind of player. And so I guess him being on the field, that performance wasn't good enough to justify all of the stuff swirling around him. And obviously he was suspended earlier in the college football season a couple of times. So, you know, I think that they finally had enough of Matty Mock over at the University of Missouri. And then you can go to the other news story with the University of Missouri, where, and let me try and get to it in my notes here. Gary Pinkel, or was it Gary Pinkel? It was the former president of the school that was forced to step down. He had some words to say about the school. He had some words to talk about how the school was going to lose money long term when it came to people coming to Missouri. How Missouri's basically the money that they would have lost by forfeiting BYU long term, they should have just taken that hit then. You know? And I don't know where to come down on people whose opinions are basically that the school President Tim Wolf, he basically went back and punched the school in the mouth after all the decisions that they made, and they forced him to step down. And it sounds right now like sour grapes. And I've heard a lot of the opinions in this town about that, and I'm a little disappointed by them. I'm a little disappointed that the disappointment is coming from a place of players have been told that what they did was wrong. You know, that Gary Pinkel did the wrong thing in supporting his players, okay? You and I do not go to the University of Missouri. So it's unfortunate that You hear all of these stories about racism on the campus. The students are up in arms about it, but there's not a whole movement that gets started like this based on, especially on a school campus. A school campus is not a tiny place, but it's certainly not big enough that nobody has any information. And the school had a whole movement where there was a guy on a hunger strike trying to figure out like how we can solve the problems of racism at this school. I think that there is some reality to that situation there. I think some of the stories that came out, some of them ended up not being true. Some of them ended up not actually having occurred. But there was something there that caused a person to go on a hunger strike. There was something there that got a good chunk of a football team to say, we're sitting out of this game until something changes. There's something there. How much? Because people love football. Players love playing. Coaches love coaching. Fans love watching. What is going on at that campus that those players thought that this was a real option that we have to take? Something was happening. They didn't just make it all up. So where are we on that? And again, this is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. And I honestly, when I look at this situation and how, people have said, and again, people in this town on these airwaves in this town have said, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. Folks, that's how activism works. It starts by exerting the power that you do have to show that you're serious about something. That is how activism works. By Gary Pinkel supporting those students, Gary Pinkel supporting the football players on his team. You're worried about the lesson that teaches them. You know what that teaches them? Stand up for what you believe in. If you believe in something, stand up for it. Do the right thing. Not football's important, so let this one go. What lesson did you think that they were learning from that? They were being empowered to do something. Most of these guys aren't playing football. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's the University of Missouri. They have not been producing football players at the NFL level for a couple of seasons now. That's not their thing, okay? They've got some up years, they've got some down years. That's just how they roll. They're not all producing NFL players. So what is it that these students are learning then? Stand up for what you believe in. Do the right thing. And when it comes to race, our country has got such a long history of doing the wrong thing. There's no reason why, if you feel persecuted, you shouldn't stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, if later you're wrong, and someone can correct that. Whereas if you stand by and let it happen, if you're wrong, if you stand by and let it happen, the damage that gets done there can't be fixed. Okay? People are going to go back to the University of Missouri. It's a great school. It's a great journalism school. It's a great engineering school. It's a great school. Okay? The hit that you're going to take this upcoming semester, it's not like people are just going to go, oh, this school might go on strike again. We're never going to the University of Missouri ever again. That's a huge school over there, okay? That's a lot of kids growing up in the greater Missouri area that want to be a Tiger. You can't tell me that the damage done long-term for these students doing what they did and being empowered by their coach to do what they did is going to be more damaging than what would have happened if those allegations of racism on that campus were true. Because imagine what would happen if it were true and nobody did anything. This boils up into a situation that could be infinitely worse than Tim Wolf having to step down as president. He didn't handle the situation in the moment. He didn't handle it when it happened. The way that he responded, he could have responded completely differently. He could have shown some kind of empathy, like, okay, you guys are coming from a place of hurt. He could have done that. He did not do that. So no, I don't want to hear that Gary Pinkel made the wrong decision by empowering his students. Even if the decision he made, he chose to hide behind the student on the hunger strike. That even if it saves one kid on a hunger strike, then it's worth it. If he doesn't do that, you lose a lot more. You've got a campus that doesn't stand behind you. You've got a campus that doesn't take issues of race seriously. So Tim Wolf and his firing his shots now. Where were you when it was happening? You know what I mean? Because I saw the video of him just dismissing a bunch of students, waiting for him outside of a keynote meeting that he was going to. They were waiting for him and they're asking him questions, and he just kind of blows them off. That's not a fake video. That's very real. Come on, man. To me, that's the real tragedy. That the students did what they thought was right, and we're looking back on it, hindsight being 2020 and everything, we're looking back on it and going, yeah, the school made the wrong decision there. I'm not so sure they did. And if Gary Pinkel goes back on his decision, if he walks that one back, that's cowardly. Because I thought he made the right call. He stood behind the players on his team, which when you are a coach, guess what? That's the promise that you make. That's the promise that you make. How many times have we seen this? If a coach or a quarterback or a point guard or anybody who's seen as a leader in an organization, when you leave someone hanging out to dry, I mean, we always kill them for it. You know, Dwight Howard with the Orlando Magic for years and years just didn't get along with Stan Van Gundy and would be just very two-faced. He leaves Stan Van Gundy hanging out to dry. Well, dude, you're a leader on this team. You're the leader on this team. You're an alpha dog. Guess what? People follow you. When you say things, they listen to you. You know, you cannot leave people hanging out to dry if they're in your team. Gary Pinkel did not leave his students hanging out to dry. They chose to do something. There are obviously consequences to what you choose to do. But, and especially when it comes to matters of race, because of just where they are geographically, okay, Missouri being one of those places where tensions between black people and the police, blacks and whites are, it's tense. It's tense, especially after the whole Ferguson ordeal. It's tense. You take these things seriously and you do not ignore it. Sweep it under the rug and go, you know what? I'm going to suspend students for trying to do the right thing. I mean, goodness, you're trying to teach these students to be young men in a country where you're teaching them the skills to be correct. You're teaching them the skills to go out there and change the world. And the lesson that some would like them to learn is to just lie down and take it. Don't worry about what's right. You're going to cost the school money. And think about the power that I have in this locker room as a coach, or think about the power that I have on this campus as a president. God forbid someone take that from me. Well, guess what? You shouldn't have that power, absolutely. That power should come with a caveat, which is that if you're not doing your job and the people on that campus are not satisfied with what you're doing, you ought to get run. Okay? Now, you can try and there was a number of different ways to handle that. Look into the situation. Like, actually look into the situation and investigate. See what was going on. Don't just dismiss it. There are students on that campus who feel unsafe. They do not feel safe. And when things get out of hand racially, any division really, right? Sports don't, in the grand picture of things, sports don't really matter. And you could still get killed at a Raiders game for being a Chargers fan too close to Oakland. I mean, that's the thing that can actually happen. Anytime you've got divisions of people, that's what can happen. Okay, we deal with fundamentalist, with the not fundamentalist, but with the extreme Muslims, and we deal with extreme Christians, and we deal with extremists of all religions. You divide people into groups, that's where we go. And whether you like it or not, our country has a history of dividing you by skin color. They make you put it on a test, even. When you have to take the SAT, you do have to put that you're African American on there. You do. Why does that matter? Why on earth does that matter? It doesn't. But because that division has already been made and that division has already been distinguished, people are going to fight over it, and there's going to be tension with it, especially when you have a history in this nation like ours. And you're just going to have to take that one on the nose. You're just going to have to take that one in stride and understand the context of your situation, that city specifically, both in the distant and recent past, where that school is located, what those students are feeling, and take it seriously. The reason why the students wanted President Tim Wolf run is because they felt something, and it seemed like he did not care. And we shouldn't make the same mistake that he made. That would be wrong. Okay, he wrote some bullet points in a section of this email here, and it read, quote, "The football team's decision to strike is what actually brought most of the national attention to our university. In hindsight, the $1 million penalty associated with forfeiting the game against BYU would have paled in comparison to the more than $25 million in lost tuition and fees Missouri University will realize with reduced enrollment this fall. It's also a pittance of the threatened loss of state funding that could be as much as $500 million. Unfortunately, the Missouri University Athletic Director, Mack Rhodes, Coach Gary Pinkel, and Chancellor Bowen Lofton all failed to communicate with system officials on this matter. The football team's actions were the equivalent of throwing gasoline on a small fire. Coach Pinkel missed an important opportunity to teach his players a valuable life lesson. The end result could be a financial catastrophe for our university." Basically, the lesson to be learned here is that money is the most important thing. Never mind if you actually believed that there was racism on that campus. Never mind. It's not a small fire, by the way. Racism, sexism, these are not small fires. Discrimination, these are not small fires. A discrimination against one of us is a discrimination against everybody. It is. And what you're saying is $25 million is more important than the safety of even one student, is more important than the mental and emotional well-being of even one student. That's unbelievable. That's the lesson that they would have learned. You believe you're doing the right thing, but it's going to cost the school $25 million. Don't do it. That's not what you ought to be teaching college students. That's not what you ought to be teaching them. Are you serious? And how about you and your part in all of this? Like, to blame the football team for doing what they felt was right? What that entire movement was calling for was compassion and empathy of some kind. Of any kind. All right? And it didn't happen. It didn't come from the president. It didn't come from anybody below him. Nobody seemed to care. So the football team took matters into their own hands, and I think they rightfully got support. The $1 million would pale in comparison to the $25 million. But if anything that those students said were true, and I do mean anything, the damage that could have been done to the students is worth it. It's worth it. The lesson that you teach there is to do the right thing. It doesn't matter if there's money on the line. It doesn't matter if The school's reputation is on the line. It doesn't matter. Do what's right. Every single time. You have to. Okay? Our society doesn't move forward or in any direction if people don't do what they're supposed to do. Even if that's the unpopular thing. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business and becoming self-sufficient. Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years. 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. 875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Call me now. 875-5621.
You need a place for your party or maybe a wedding reception for 100 or even more. Maybe you'd like to host a small trade show for your business and you need a very affordable venue. Are you looking for a place for your birthday gala or services to start up a church? Look no further than the Hidden Gem in Hickson. It's an overlooked, newly appointed reception hall right here in Hickson, Tennessee. Big space, small price. That's right, big space, small price. Call Mr. Chu and ask for a tour. 316-7388. That's 423-316-7388. He'll tell you a lot more about the venue. Rent this venue today. Just call 423-316-7388 and ask for Mr. Chu.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck. 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Staying dry and chilly out there through the nighttime. A few late clouds, lows into the lower 30s. Now for your Friday, lots of sunshine returns. High temperatures of around 50. For Saturday, though, a nice warming trend. More sunshine, a beautiful day. Highs 58 to 61. Back into the 60s on Sunday. This forecast is brought to you by H&R Block. It's refund season, and nobody gets more than Block, guaranteed. Visit HNRBlock.com to make an appointment today. And I'm Sorgene Twells, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go,
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
So Tim Wolf, the former University of Missouri president, said that protesters and the football team threw gasoline on what was a small fire. And you know what? No. Yep. I mean, I'm not shocked that he's saying any of this. Like, obviously he's bitter. Obviously he was ousted because of the football team and the attention that they brought to a situation where they felt that there was racism. That's just what they felt. And it's not completely a fair situation. Okay. And I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, tough. Life's not fair. He didn't have a chance to change anything. He didn't have a chance to do anything about it, but he didn't handle that situation well from the jump. And that is his fault. That is his fault. Like, did you set yourself up to get run when you tell a bunch of protesters that institutional racism does not exist and that they're making it up? They're asking you, they're telling you this exists on this campus. If you don't agree, there's many different ways to handle it. Okay. And someone on Reddit, and again, I don't know how true this is, but even if the thing isn't true, it is a perfectly reasonable way to handle this situation before it blew out of hand. Right. So here's somebody on Reddit. Basically, and shout out to the college football subreddit, by the way. There's a lot of sports information there and just a lot of fun people to talk to. So shout out to college football Reddit. But the person basically said this. My aunt is a dean at a med school ranked top 30 internationally. She said they almost had a similar situation at her school, but they handled it way differently. They met with students who wanted to protest and told them that they were free to protest, but the administration didn't feel like it had been given a fair chance to correct problems that students were protesting about. So the administrators held a town hall for the students to come and voice their grievances and concerns and discuss with the administration and faculty ways that they felt it would be appropriate to address these issues. That's how you're supposed to handle issues like that. That's how that's supposed to go. Okay? Before the grievances get too massive and vague and what the students are calling for, what the protesters are calling for becomes too extreme, you open up a channel of communication. This is entry-level stuff. Admittedly, this isn't stuff that everybody inherently understands, right? It's not something that is naturally understood by all people. Communication, ironically, is not the easiest thing to grasp, even though you start communicating from the time you're born up until the moment that you die. That is all you do, and it's still difficult to do because there's lots of nuances. We all understand things differently. Life is just like that. All right? When you want to, and like this works in marriage, this works in dating, this works in just friendships. There isn't a relationship on this earth that doesn't have some of this in here, and you can choose to handle it the wrong way. I know this. All right. I love my girlfriend, but we have arguments sometimes. And sometimes those arguments literally just come as a result of miscommunication. I don't think she said something the right way. She didn't think I said something the right way. And one or both of us could have prevented it. We could have prevented it, but it didn't happen because we didn't make the right choice. It's a difficult thing to understand that I, like a communication major, am ironically not the world's greatest communicator. It turns out that graduating from school with communication degrees doesn't actually mean that you're good at it. It's an ongoing progressing work. That's just how, right? That's just how it is. But here's the thing. When you're a big organization in charge of a larger body of people, that's got to be avenue number one. Okay? The moment that there is discomfort, that there's some kind of disgruntled feeling going on in the population, open up a dialogue. The national government does this. And as much as the national government is not very capable, at least one thing that they have is a petition website. You can go there and just start a petition for anything. And if you get enough people behind it, it gets heard. It actually does get heard. It's like the one good thing there. You have to open up some kind of alleyway of communication. You do. It seems obvious and basic, but it's not. But that's the first thing you have to do, or that's what's going to pour gasoline on the fire. The students are communicating with you. They're protesting. That is a form of communication. There's hurt and anguish here. We're protesting. The players are going to sit out and boycott a game. Well, that's communication. But they don't have the organization to sit down and be specific. You're the school administration. You do. Period. End of story. Right? Like that. Am I wrong on? I'm not wrong on that one. I'm just not, because communicating is the first thing you do. As soon as something starts coming up, you can't change what's going on. Tell the students that we're not gonna fire Tim Wolf because he hasn't had time to do anything yet. Can you imagine if they had just said that? Because here's the thing. By the time the football players got involved, because a lot of people make it seem like the football team got involved, they asked for his resignation from the jump, and he didn't have an opportunity to do anything. These protests were going on for months. There were about 3 months or so of protesting. When that happened, shouldn't have been anything done before. Like, communication should have come as an option before the football team ever got involved. Like, in that way, just the complete mishandling of the whole debacle, you do deserve to get run a little bit. You just do. You mishandled the situation. You dismissed grievances. Well, my goodness, you're the president of the university. That's what your job is. Yes, there's a million other things on that job, but you are beholden to the student body of that university. That's how you get paid, is they go to school there. So when they don't like you, guess what? You're out. If you really were doing everything you could to make sure that everyone knew, okay, we're trying, this matters to us, I just don't have enough time to fix this, okay? 3 months is not going to fix this. If you're saying the racism here is institutional, the racism here is inherent, then guess what? You've got to tell them, I need a timetable to fix this. What do you want? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? And we can squelch some of the rumors that ended up popping up. Okay, like a lot of some of those stories ended up not being true. But if you don't open up a dialogue, you can't pick fact from fiction. There is no way to. You have no way to do that. For a student to say, this happened to me, and you can go, that happened, but I heard it happen like this. Or, that's not as bad as you first thought. Or, the culprit, the only thing that we know for sure happened, that we have evidence of, is the swastika covered in feces. Which, that's pretty scary. Maybe it was just a guy that just got drunk and had too many natty lights. That's possible. But if you're worried about institutional racism and then you just go in the bathroom and you see a swastika made out of feces, then you can assume one of two things. A really drunk person did this, which is possible, or a person who was so full of hate and so serious about that hatred used their own feces to do this. And that is a more likely explanation. If what you're feeling is institutional racism, or if what you perceive you are feeling is. And I'm not saying there was or there wasn't. I, like many people commenting on this, I wasn't there. I don't know. So I'm not going to sit here from a place of knowledge, like I'm on my high mighty horse and I know what's better than anybody. But I do know that the moment you have people protesting they're feeling something. And it's a lesson that I think everybody should learn. Most times, folks just want to be acknowledged. Folks just want to be heard. Just to know that their pain is not something that the rest of the world is ignoring. Even if it's exaggerated, just being heard would have made the world of difference to those protesters. Because that's what you protest for. You find a cause and you protest on behalf of it. No, I think Tim Wolf is wrong. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. And boy, I didn't mean to go off on racial tangent for roughly 20 minutes, but that's where we went. It's serious. Okay. And I keep hearing from just multiple different places that he was unfairly pushed out, that Gary Pinkel shouldn't have supported the players. Yes, he should have, because that's what they felt the right thing was. And the school wasn't doing the right thing. What's the right thing? Listening. That's it. Like, first, just listen. You don't have to agree, but don't act like you don't care, and don't act like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is that these students had to say, because it does. You cannot act like it doesn't matter there. It's just it's just ridiculous. And you know, I'm interested in seeing, I wish we could have seen what would have happened had Gary Pinkel been able to stay as the head coach. He stepped down as the head coach. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So we'll never know. Okay. But I think he made the right decision. He did as a football coach what the administration should have done to the whole student body. It's weird. It's weird. The University of Missouri is just a strange place, because it seems like the football team is the only functioning part of that school. Like, socially functioning part of that school, where players have a gay teammate and they make him feel accepted. They don't let him feel ostracized. They hide his secret until he's ready. I mean, it's just weird that the football team of all people. And then, you know, they see something happening in their school. They want to stand up for it. And like an organized group of activists, they make their stand. And their football coach tells them, do the right thing. Their football coach is willing to communicate with them in a way that the school administration was not willing to communicate with the entire student body. Those students did not pour gasoline on a small fire. They poured gasoline on a big one. And the fact of the matter is that there was a fire there. Something deserved to be burned down. Okay, that's how you fix stuff. And it's unfortunate, because I don't think that Tim Wolf is a bad person. I don't think that Tim Wolf is not a good person. I don't know him personally, and I can't say. I don't think that he's a racist. I don't think that he's a bigot. I don't think any of those things. But what I do think is that there was an opportunity in the 3 months that there were protesters to open up some kind of dialogue between protesters and the school officials, so that everyone could at least be on the same page of, I hear you. I can't fix everything right now. I may not be able to fix anything at all, but I hear you. That would have gone a long way. And try it in your actual life, please. I'm working on it. Everybody ought to be working on it. Communication is the easiest answer. Like, there's so many times where communicating properly, communicating easily would have made life easier for all of us. Haven't you ever gotten a text where you thought someone was being rude, and then turns out later they weren't? It's because you can't communicate fully in text. Always look to communicate further. Always. It'll make your life so much easier. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. And I was talking about the University of Missouri and the entire situation that went there. Tim Wolf, the university president or ex-president, was forced to step down, basically. And in his emails today, blamed the school and a lot of it on the football team and the athletic department. He didn't think they did the right thing, that he taught that the players were taught the wrong lesson, that the players cost the school probably $25 million in tuition money in the upcoming semester. And we'll see about that. Like, we'll actually see if that actually happens. But I don't think the students learned the wrong lesson. But we're going to shift gears here and talk more Super Bowl talk. Can't help it, right? The NFL is going to open an investigation into Peyton Manning and whether or not he used HGH. And I think that this is silliness. The report came from Al Jazeera. Peyton Manning denied the allegations, but Al Jazeera they have a spotty history of not reporting things correctly. They've had several retractions on this story. And, you know, you open the investigation as the NFL. I'm not sure for what. I'm pretty sure we all are fairly certain NFL players do use steroids, right? Like, that's not a secret. The competitive advantage of steroids in not just the NFL, but in Major League Baseball, in the NBA, in the NHL, track, whatever, most of it is recovery. Most of it is not even to get a physical edge so much as I need to play again next week so that I can get paid. Okay, when you make money, the incentive, I mean, I don't know why you're shocked that that's going to happen. Guys will do anything to play. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Peyton Manning is kind of the Walking Dead right now. Peyton Manning's got the plantar fasciitis in his foot. He's got the calf. He's got the hamstring and the back problems and the neck and the nerve damage. Peyton Manning, if he's not taking steroids, I want to know just what he eats. Because chicken parm doesn't do that to people. Chicken parm does not keep you upright when you are just falling apart. Chicken parm is good, but it doesn't do that to people. All right? Chicken parm, you taste so good. Doesn't work that way. I'm not saying he may necessarily be on HGH, but I don't know what the league is hoping to prove here. That Peyton Manning is being held together with some twine, yarn, silly putty, and some more loose string and a rubber band that you found in your back left pocket. That's that and HGH. Something. He's taken something, but they all are. That's everybody. Forget what's his name with the Panthers that's trying to play in the Super Bowl a couple of Sundays from now. Like, dude, your arm is broken. How did you expect to get back to play for this game in time with legal drugs? How did you expect to do that? Right? Antonio Gates won't go away. This guy's hanging on into the league because it pays well, the glory of the game. You don't want your life after football to start. You'll take any drugs you can. Okay? I mean, we don't know what Kobe does when he goes to Germany and they take blood from his knees and they swirl it. Like, what is that? Isn't that all performance enhancement? Like, we haven't explicitly banned it yet, so morally you can do it. It's crazy to me. It's craziness. I mean, I'm looking at it, and I look at Kobe. Kobe goes to Germany every year. They take blood out of his knees or whatever it is, swirl it around, re-inject it. It's some weird German procedure to prolong his career. Isn't that an edge? And how is that any different from HGH? Okay, I understand. It's Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's been like my favorite player, and I've said it multiple times on this show. Peyton Manning, for my money, is the best quarterback I've seen in life. That may be just me, but I like what Peyton Manning has done in his career. So it could just be me sticking my head in the sand and going, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear you. It's not Peyton. La, 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 la. But I don't think so. I don't think so. And football is like the one sport where we just don't care. We don't care. We'll watch any football. We'll watch bad football. The Thursday night football games this past NFL season, and quite frankly, like the past 3 NFL seasons, have been dreadful. By and large, terrible, terrible games. And we watch them. The ratings don't go down. You know, ratings fluctuate from sport to sport. They don't fluctuate in football. You know, we're hoping we're going to get as interesting an NBA Finals this year as last year. In football, I don't care which 2 teams make it to the Super Bowl. Most people watching the Super Bowl do not care. Just don't care. Yeah, we do. We're sports fans. Most people don't care. We're here for the commercials. You could run it on the street. Just go on the street and make up 2 NFL teams. Just make up the names of some teams and ask if they're in the Super Bowl and who people want to win. And see if someone doesn't answer the question by just picking a name. Just see if that doesn't happen. It's football has just got this country hypnotized. We will always watch it. And it doesn't really matter. Greg Hardy basically beats his girlfriend up on a pile of guns, which, I mean, as far as just doing the wrong thing goes, that's like a double whammy on a pile of guns. Just a random pile of guns. I don't even know. Were you kind of a supervillain? You just got a bunch of guns in a lair? Well, how does that happen? Beats his girlfriend up on a pile of guns, gets signed to the Dallas Cowboys, and I heard a lot of conversation about people boycotting Cowboys games and not watching it. I didn't actually see it happen, though. I didn't see people not watch the Cowboys. If you chose not to watch the Cowboys this season, it's because Tony Romo got injured and that team is worthless without him. That's what happened. Romo got hurt. Bryant got hurt. Season done. You didn't boycott the Cowboys. They were just bad. Which is different. Okay? And then, I mean, you've got domestic abuse cases all over the league. The Redskins signed Junior Gillette, and we don't really care because he got injured. And you're just looking at the teams, and you're like, wow, people can get away with hitting their spouses. It doesn't affect the popularity of this league. People are damaging their brains and dying. It doesn't affect the popularity of this league. Let's face it. The NFL as an organization is an even greater concept of a Walking Dead zombie than is Peyton Manning. There is nothing that we can do to damage football. Nothing. We saw on video Ray Rice knock his fiance out cold and then drag her out of the elevator. It looked terrible. We're not done watching football. It's crazy to me. So we're going to get hung up on Peyton Manning and HGH use. Oh, okay. Sure. And you know who else is using it? It probably is left tackle. I don't get it. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A former corrections officer pleaded guilty to stealing medications from different hospitals. He's been sent to drug court. He pled guilty to the criminal court on Wednesday to several counts of theft, burglary, criminal trespassing, vandalism, and drug possession. And he pleaded guilty to one count of impersonating a licensed professional.